I feel like it's always going to be a gender thing in the culinary world.
Honestly, it's like, how? Like, it's like, I don't know how it's going to change, honestly.
I just think the industry is very different than what it used to be.
It's worked for a million years. Why are we changing it? Because it fucking sucks.
Like, what's the part that needs to change? You know, why do I need to be an asshole?
Keep fighting the good fight and do what you love and don't let anyone say that you can't.
You know, as much as right now we can say that, yes, it is a male-dominated industry, we're coming up.
You're listening to Copper and Heat, the podcast exploring the unspoken rules and traditions of restaurants. I'm Katy Osuna, and Rachel, our lovely producer, is with me again today.
Hi, Katy.
Hello. All right, we're actually going to be doing something a little different. We're taking a little trip back 5 years in the past when Copper and Heat started in 2018, which is wild.
5 years. Does not feel like it, but it does.
Yeah, I cannot believe it.
And I think that these past 5 years are, as everyone would say, unprecedented 5 years. Because, I mean, it's not only that we've had 5 years that have passed, but we've had 5 years that have been such a shift. And everybody, I mean, the pandemic, I just feel like there's a lot of change. And there was a lot of reconsidering that happened. Mm-hmm. So this passage of time feels even more...
like significant?
Yeah, significant.
Yeah, for sure. Drastic change.
Especially for the restaurant industry.
So we decided to do this mini-series to dig into what's been happening over the last 5 years. And to do this 3 episodes, we did a couple things.
First, we're going to be going back and listening to the tape from the first season and giving some updates to the stats and data that were shared.
Yeah, and for those that are new, or maybe didn't listen to the first season was my experience as a woman in fine dining kitchens and kind of a personal essay about my time and talking to some of my coworkers. So the second thing that we did is that I talked to a few of the women that I talked to back then to get an update on their lives, hear where they're at now, what the last 5 years has done.
My name is Edalyn Garcia.
Edalyn was my sous chef in my first fine dining job in the Bay Area.
First up is my friend Edalyn, who you just heard from 5 years ago. And this is her now.
My name is Edalyn Garcia. I'm currently the executive chef at Palmette in Oakland.
We're going to start where we did the very first episode of this podcast 5 years ago, talking about working up in the brigade.
Episode 1. Brigade. When I started working in kitchens, I noticed pretty quickly that I was one of the only, if not the only woman. And that's very typical in the restaurant industry. Women make up about half of all food service workers. This includes front of house like waiters and bartenders and the back of the house in the kitchen. Women also make up a little over 50% of students graduating culinary schools. In just the back of the house, there are somewhere between 30 and 50%. However, as we move up the ranks, 27% of line cooks, 19% of chefs, and 7% of head chefs are ladies. These numbers don't take into account the number of women that are in pastry versus the savory side of the kitchen, with pastry being predominantly women. They also don't differentiate between fine dining and the rest of the restaurant industry.
Not great numbers for, 2018?
Yeah, I think these were like 2017 numbers because I was looking at it in 2018 or something. So yeah, 6-ish years ago. Yeah, so we went back and obviously there's those numbers and then looked into what those numbers look like now.
I'm so curious.
Yeah, it's interesting. So we'll go with the first one. Students graduating culinary schools is still about the same. It's like over 50%, but like 53% are women graduating culinary schools. In just the back of the house, I took these numbers from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So it's like they categorize things a little bit differently. So like total food prep and serving related occupations, they call it. So total women in the restaurant industry is 53%, over half. If we take out like front of house people, so just back of the house, it's still like 55%. As we move up the ranks, so cooks, 38%. And they kind of lump chefs and head cooks together, but that's 26%. So actually that kind of looks like it's about the same. If we lumped 19% of chefs and 7% of head chefs, that's
Pretty
basically
similar.
the same. So it hasn't changed.
So really no shift. Much the same. That surprises me. I thought it would have been at least, I didn't think it was going to be like a huge change, but I thought it would be a little bit more, especially in like the top tier.
Yeah.
But psych.
Woohoo. I don't know. It's interesting. But so that's the numbers there. So I kind of tried to find different data points elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to find.
Yeah, it's a big category.
Yeah. So like the other place that I looked is this website Zippia, which is like a job search website. And so they do a bunch of data. I couldn't figure out where they get their data from. So that was weird. But so they had that 25% of like chef positions are women. So again, I don't know how they define chef and I don't know where they're getting their data from, but I think it's like pulling from like LinkedIn and other places like that. But so it seems to kind of be around that 25% ish.
Wow.
Speaking of the brigade and working your way up, we're going to go to a clip from the first episode where I talked to Edalyn about that.
I think there's something about the brigade system that is different than school. It's seen as a meritocracy. If you just work your ass off, prove yourself, prove that you're strong enough, you can start as a dishwasher and work your way up.
Plumed Horse is actually what helped me blossom into a better leader.
This is Edalyn.
My name is Edalyn Garcia.
Edalyn was my sous chef in my first fine dining job in the Bay Area.
Right before my 1 year mark, I got promoted to sous chef. At the time, we had lost one of our sous chefs, and it never really crossed my mind that I would be promoted. One of the things that Chef Peter said to me was that he was like, everybody in the kitchen respects you. I didn't know that. I was just trying to do my thing, work my way up the right way. So from there, I had to step up my game big.
So at the time that I talked to her then, she had worked her way up to sous chef and then executive sous.
Mm-hmm.
And the last 5 years have been a lot for Edalyn. There are some things that have changed and some things that haven't.
Yeah, 2018, I was at the Village Pub. Because, I started in 2017 and we interviewed in March. I do remember that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in the executive sous chef position for about then, 5 months. And that transition was a little rocky to begin with, but it was a very eye-opening experience for me. I think that was when I kind of became more aware, honestly.
Well, when you say more aware, what do you mean by that?
In the beginning of my career, it was always just me knowing what the goal was and just going for it, right? And then everything else that really was going on outside of it, I didn't really take into consideration, honestly, because I just always had that kind of eye on the prize mentality. But once I did become more aware, that's when I realized the type of person and chef I wanted to be, just the type of leader. I always just wanted to move up in the ranks in the right way. And I just making myself better. And that was really what drove me. But I also know that I started to lose myself and things at home started to get ugly. I did everything that I felt that I could in order to keep myself, to try to sustain myself, honestly. But I think so many things just got lost. I felt like I just wasn't heard, just bringing so much of everything that I felt from work. I mean, there are times, right? You go home and you bring the stress of work home and you talk about it, you vent about it with your family or your significant other. But it's different when you get home and you literally fall to your knees and start crying. And that's when I was like, I can't do this anymore. I quit my job at the Village Pub. March 31st was my last day there. And I spent a good month just trying so hard to do things for myself for once. You know, all the things that would help me feel whole again and fulfill me in many ways. I know that people say that I didn't fail, but in my mind, it's so hard not to think that because I honestly feel like I threw in the towel. I just overextend myself in so many ways because, like, growing up in the way that I did and being the second oldest, and honestly, at the end of the day, like, I feel like I am the oldest, and helping my family out so much. And basically, I'm more like a parent than I am a sister to my siblings, I feel like, in many ways. And just caring so much about their happiness before my own, I think became detrimental to me. And that's why I have this like people pleaser mentality. But I'm realizing more and more now, just talking about awareness, like how much that has affected me and caused trauma from my own fucking doing. Right? I did this to myself because I just didn't create boundaries. But it's like, I had to tell myself creating boundaries is not a weakness. Creating boundaries is not a weakness. Creating boundaries is not a weakness. I had to keep telling myself that. But no, I felt like I have healed in the sense of finally standing up for myself. Like, I'm never going to let myself feel that way again. And in the moment that I do let myself feel like that again, I'm going to speak about it. I'm finally going to set boundaries, which I started to do with my current job. And I let them know from the get-go. I said, hey, I just want to let you know that I'm still healing. And there's a lot of ill feelings that are still with me. I think when the pandemic happened, I think that was definitely an eye-opener for me because so many of us in the culinary world were left with our thoughts because usually we wouldn't have the time, right? We wouldn't have the time to like think about our emotions and feelings and think about like, am I doing the right thing? Like, is this environment really good for me?
5 years from now, like, where do you see yourself? Do you still see yourself in restaurants, in fine dining, and all of that?
I definitely see myself in restaurants still, and I still see myself in fine dining or something that is close to it. If I'm going to be just super upfront about it, I think what happened at my previous job, I'm honestly trying to get redemption for myself because I feel like I lost so much of myself and I wasn't able to really achieve everything that I wanted to at that place. I want nothing more than to do that now in every way, shape, or form because no one has ever told me that I couldn't do anything. It was always everything in my head, right? All of the battles I had to fight within myself to get out of my head, to stop doubting myself, and to finally say, I know my worth. I know what I'm capable of, and I need to prove it to myself, for myself.
Of the people that I talked to 5 years ago, one, it was very binary. It was men and women. And so it was 6 men and 5 women, including myself.
That reminds me, going back to the stats that we were looking at earlier, do any of the places that you were looking at their numbers categorize people who identify as non-binary? Or is it only men,
No,
women?
It's all men, women.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was trying to kind of find some stats about folks that don't fit into the gender binary, and there's not a lot. I think there was one place, let me see if I can find the stat again. I want to say it was like 9% of chefs identify as like LGBTQ plus in some way.
Number seems low to me.
That seems very low.
Really, really low.
Let me check it real quick before I... Okay, this is again according to Zippia. And I don't know how much I trust their stats, but 8.5%.
Okay. So of the people that you talked to the first season, the 6 men, 5 women, how many people are still in the industry? Like, where is everybody at?
It's very interesting. So of the men, of the 6, 2 of them have left working in restaurants. One of them started a consulting company for restaurants. So they do like menu development and PR and stuff like that for restaurants. And then the other completely left restaurants and is now working in tech as a developer. So that was really interesting. But like of the men that stayed in it, they're all running kitchens now, like Michelin level kitchens, I think. Like I think they're all sous chef or like CDC level. So that was really interesting. With the women, that number's flipped, basically. So like of the 5 of us, only Edalyn is still working full-time in restaurants. She's now an executive chef, so she's like worked her way up. I guess Kaya has kind of stayed the same. She, as far as restaurants goes, she's like not in restaurants anymore, but she had left restaurants before I started talking to her anyway. So she runs a catering company and she started that in 2017.
Wow, that is fascinating to me.
Right?
Because I feel like, you know, most of the people that you interviewed in the first season were like your coworkers. So everybody kind of started at a similar place of work. Not that everybody was, but it was like kind of that energy. And to see just like the different ways that everyone has chosen to navigate their career.
Yeah. And it's like, that's obviously anecdotal. That's not like hard data.
Yeah, definitely. It's like 11 people.
But I mean, the data also does kind of back that up in that women are not working up the brigade. Whether that's because they choose to leave of their own volition for various reasons, or whether they're staying at a certain position. I don't know. It's like, it's obviously it's complicated.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors.
Yeah.
And it's also interesting to think about how many people, when they were faced with the break during COVID, decided to reassess and be like, okay, actually, no, this is not what I want. And how many people are like, no, I'm going to like figure this out and keep after it and keep going.
Totally. And I think something else that we talked about 5 years ago was like, who is considered a chef and how is that word defined and portrayed? And speaking of working up the brigade, is it worth it to stick it out to reach what is considered like the pinnacle of a career if a woman chef is not going to be considered as seriously as a man?
We've got this stereotypical view of men's cooking. It's innovative, artistic, or scientific. Does all these crazy things that fuck with your senses. Whereas women, especially women of color, are seen as the couriers of tradition, making food that is homey, nurturing, comforting, traditional.
People don't feel, quote unquote, as comfortable with me because I am of color.
This is Edalyn again.
Or, you know, they just already have these preconceived notions about me of what things I can cook. Like, people ask me, like, do you cook a lot of Filipino food? I'm like, hell no. I don't know. Like, I can cook you some adobo, you know, like, but I don't know how to cook a lot of the food that I grew up eating. I don't know. A part of me doesn't feel right to cook it because, 1, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And 2, my, like, mom or my grandma, you know, would definitely know how it should taste better than I could.
Even if the inspiration for many well-known chefs are the traditional foods cooked by their mothers or grandmothers, they become chefs because they transformed the food into something new. It becomes about the challenge and the innovation, about taking what is mundane and making it extraordinary. There's this perception of men and women's cooking, but what does it matter? Women are still in the industry. Women are still chefs. Women aren't stuck doing women's food. They can be successful, right?
I don't know that this has changed a whole lot in the last 5 years. Like listening back to this part and like how women are talked about in the media or in general in their food.
I totally agree. I think it's so fascinating because, yeah, I agree that like with that sort of like edgy cooking, whatever, it is men that we hear about. But when I think of people who are running restaurants or doing ideas that I find are like hopeful or really interesting or really creative in the industry, it's women. Like Telly at Hags that we talk about, Jenny Studio Tao, there's Reem, exactly. There's just, I don't know, I think it's interesting that those are the things. I mean, we're talking about it, so people talk about it.
Yeah.
But like, and this is maybe also the flip of a gender binary, but like women doing like the work to actually get things like changed, but not getting any of the attention for that kind of like shift or shininess of it, because it's not the things that are like, you know, pouring sauce onto a thing for dessert and making it fancy and arty. It's like, you know, doing the work to shift a structure, doing the work to talk about something that's a little more challenging.
And not even just like not getting the attention, but also not getting the like funding. I don't know what the situation is for Hags or Reams, but like getting the money to do those things versus like a flashy new like hip restaurant that's doing like food things.
And so many of those flashy restaurants that were run by men are shutting down because they're like, oh, in this world, it's too hard. To do the right thing is actually too challenging, and I'm not going to do it at all. I don't even want to try.
We're going back to Noma and what has been said about why Man Race are closed and stuff. Like, it's just not sustainable to do this anymore. Like, no shit. Oh, boy.
So frustrating.
It is incredibly frustrating. Yeah. And I mean, that does kind of come back to the onus is not on men to change, but on women to like do the work to fix things, quote unquote.
Right.
Which actually is a pretty apt, not metaphor, but like, yeah, that is gender binary.
It's like, well, if you don't like it, do something about it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for celebrating 5 years of Copper and Heat with us and listening to this special mini-series. We'll be back next week with another episode. And in a few weeks, we're also going to be dropping another collaborative mini-series we did with the Southern Smoke Foundation, where we discuss mental health with chefs at the Southern Smoke Festival. So make sure to follow us in your podcast app or on social media to hear more about that.
And thanks so much to Edalyn for talking with us on this episode and 5 years ago.
This episode was produced by me, Katy Osuna, and...
Oh, me, Rachel Palmer.
And music was by Ricardo Osuna. Thanks for listening.
Thanks.